I'm Michelle, and today I'm going to teach you to prepare meatloaf for a
I
chef.
pre-ground it. You can buy it at the supermarket ground if you'd like, but I think that you get a better quality if you decide you're going to grind it yourself. So we've got the beef and the pork ready to go. And then you're gonna want, that's a lot of meat. So you can use a knife to cut your garlic, or you can use a mini chop. This is just me cheating. Okay, so that's 1 large onion, 6 cloves of garlic, 2 pounds of beef, and 1.5 pounds. So you have the onion, the garlic, and 3 cups of breadcrumbs. And you're just to toss it with your hands. Take the little bit of extra time that's required to pull your leaves off. You'll need about a cup. So it takes a little bit of time, but it's well worth the effort of not putting those woody stems in there because you get a big hunk of wood in your mouth. Once you have your leaves picked, then just gather the leaves as tight as you can. Just squish them all together like that. Make sure your knife's nice and sharp. And then just make nice little tiny cuts. Watch the ends of your fingers. Make sure that you're not going to get in. Now you've got a coarse chop. Take your knife and just quickly over the top of the parsley. You're not going to want this really, really fine. You want to be able to see the nice green speck throughout the meat, and that is about a cup. And then you're going to take 2 tablespoons, and the flavor is gorgeous in this meatloaf. So, a bit generous, about like that. We'll just put it over the top. Alrighty, so now we're going to take 3 large eggs. You can use large or you can use extra large, whatever you... Ah! I can't believe I just did that. Okay, so 3 large or extra large eggs. And you want to whisk them really well. And so then you're going to take 1/2 cup of either tomato juice or V8 juice, 1/2 cup of dry white wine, and I used Pinot Grigio. So that's your liquid. That's a big mixture. To try and do that with a spoon would be pretty tough. However, if you're good with a spoon, you can, but I'm going to use my hands. I'm going to get all of the dried ingredients mixed in. And I find the easiest way to make sure that the seasoning gets throughout the entire meatloaf is to add it to the liquid portion. So I'm using Malden sea salt. So it's sea salt, 3 teaspoons. I'll give it some pepper. Always salt and pepper it at the table after it's been baked. So you just add that. And then once again, you're going to mix that together. You've got a really nice mixture there. And just sort of pick it up a little bit, make sure there's no liquid on the bottom of the bowl. And there you have it. Alrighty, so probably the trickiest part of making this meatloaf is rolling it. Works really well is to use a piece of parchment paper. So you take your meatloaf out of the bowl and place it on your pan. So you can see how big your pan is. So you're gonna make yourself a nice rectangle. And fairly thin, because when you roll it up, you want sort of a nice even distribution, trying to have it the same thickness at the outer edge as it is in the center. So once you have the meatloaf spread out, fresh mozzarella that I have sliced about 1/4 inch thick, and lay it all over as if you were making a pizza. So then when the meatloaf is rolled, it'll be rolled around that cheese, and then once it's baked, you've got this beautiful oozing fresh mozzarella inside the meatloaf. It's delicious. Take fresh basil leaves, and if the leaf is that big, I would tear that in half and just scatter those throughout over the top. It's a beautiful combination when you use dried spice like fennel with a fresh herbs like flat Italian parsley and basil. It's a gorgeous combination. The original recipe, it calls for sun-dried tomatoes. Now, I neglected to get sun-dried tomatoes, and so I just did my own oven-roasted tomatoes this morning, which are nice to use. But if you can get the sun-dried tomato, we're going to use the parchment paper to help us roll this meatloaf up. So just make sure you get it nice and tight, and then pull it away. And then, so you can see how the parchment paper makes this job a whole lot easier than if you were trying to do it all by itself. Pull that back. All right, so we have a rolled meatloaf. And so now, I've still got paper wrapped around it. I'm gonna pull that back so that I can lift it up. Not that easy. Place it in the pan. And now I'm going to very carefully, but keeping it nice and tight, roll that over. Keep rolling it. Pull it back. And there we have a beautiful rolled stuffed meatloaf for a chef. So now the meatloaf has roasted for an hour. You can see it's got a nice crust on it. It smells amazing. So you're just going to finish it by adding more fresh mozzarella to the top of it. So it's going to give it a nice cheesy topping. So you just slice it a little bit thinner than you slice it for the inside. Lay it over the top, just like that. There you go. So, ready to go back in the oven until that cheese is melted. So here we have the roasted meatloaf. I'm going to take a slice off. It's beautiful. You can see how it's rolled. You can see the sun-dried tomatoes and the mozzarella and the flecks of parsley. It looks gorgeous. And so then just serving it with a little tomato sauce on the side. And there you have it. Meatloaf for a chef.